You walked into a movie theater for a 200 rupees ticket and somehow end up paying 500 rupees for a popcorn and a Coke. Yeah, obviously it cost more than that. But doesn't this sound ridiculous? Right? But here's the twist. The theaters barely make money from the movie itself. The real business begins the moment you smell the popcorn. Because while the movie brings the audience in, popcorn is what keeps the lights on. And that overpriced bucket in your hand, it might be the reason the theater survives at all. Hi, I'm Shruti. Welcome to One Company, One Story. This podcast is about one company, decision taken by that company, and a lesson to be learned. Also, this podcast is based on publicly available information and is intended for educational purposes only. Today's episode is a little different. Instead of one company, we are breaking down one of the biggest mysteries in entertainment. Why is movie popcorn so expensive? So before we begin, don't forget to follow our One Company, One Story Instagram page for updates, behind the scenes content, and episode highlights. You can also listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube Music. Just search for One Company and One Story and join us there. Also, many of you guys are asking for a video podcast. We are kind of working on that, so soon we'll be launching our video podcast as well. With that said, let's get into today's story. Popcorn and movies feel inseparable today. But surprisingly, cinemas originally hated popcorn. Back in the early 1900s, movie theaters wanted to look elegant and sophisticated, similar to live theaters. Popcorn was seen as a cheap street food, which is noisy, messy, and low class. Many cinema owners believed that selling popcorn would ruin the classy atmosphere of their establishments. Then everything changed in the year 1893, when the first commercial popcorn machine was invented. And suddenly, popcorn became easier, faster, and cheaper to produce. But the real turning point came during the Great Depression in 1929.
The stock market crash of 1929 was a major financial disaster that happened on October 29th, known as Black Tuesday. Stock prices plummeted, causing widespread panic and leading to massive losses.
America was in deep trouble. The stock market crashed, and suddenly millions of people lost their jobs, homes, and hope. The country was stuck in the Great Depression, and
When the Great Depression hit, people lost jobs. Families were struggling to pay rent. Life became financially difficult for millions of Americans. Even during hard times, people still wanted affordable entertainment, which is like a small escape from the reality. Movies became that escape for them. And popcorn became an inexpensive luxury. Because for just a few cents, people could enjoy a movie, a snack, and a temporary distraction from an economic hardship. Cinema owners quickly realized that something important is happening. Popcorn was cheap to make, but the people loved buying it. That combination changed the entire theater business forever. So why is movie popcorn so expensive today? The answer is pretty simple. Theaters survive because of the food and the beverages, not because of the movie tickets. Most people assume that the movie theaters earn huge profits from ticket sales. But in reality, ticket revenue is shared between the theaters, which the people call them as exhibitors, and the production house or the distributors. So the split changes depending on how long the movie has been running at the theater. For example, typically for the week one when the movie is released, between the theaters and the production house, the split will be around 50%. So it's like 50% for the exhibitors, that is the theaters, and 50% for the production houses. For the week 2, it's around 40 to 42.5%. For the week 3, it's around 30 to 37.5%. And from week 4 onwards, it's around 30%. And after the taxes like GST, theaters are left with even less amount. So even if a movie is successful, theaters don't keep the full ticket revenue. In order to understand all this, we need to get to know about the theater's business model. Movie tickets are the primary product for them. Food and the beverages are the secondary product. So these are the profit engines for them. So a theater might sell a massive number of tickets, but the highest profit margins usually come from popcorn, soft drinks, nachos, donuts, snacks, and so on. Now you may think why? Because the popcorn cost very little to make. Theaters mark up the price heavily to cover the rent, electricity, staff salaries, air conditioning, movie acquisition cost, maintenance, marketing, and seating infrastructure. So in all simple terms is that movie brings people in, popcorn keeps the business alive. There is a monopoly effect in the theater. Inside the theater, popcorn prices works like a monopoly market. Let me tell you how. Because there is no alternative competitors, there is no competition, no outside substitute, and limited options are given to the customers. You usually cannot bring outside food also. So theaters control pricing completely. And because customers are already emotionally invested in the movie experience, many may still buy the snacks despite the high prices. But why not make the popcorn cheaper? This sounds strange, but cheaper popcorn can actually create operational problems for them. See, if a popcorn becomes too cheap, then more people will tend to buy it, and the line becomes longer during the interval time. The waiting areas become too crowded. The theaters need more counters, and they also need more staff. So higher pricing also helps the theater to manage the crowd flow, reduce the operational chaos, maintain faster service, and also gain more income out of it. In India, GST also affects popcorn pricing. This is quite interesting. Different types of popcorns are taxed differently. Like loose popcorn is taxed up to 5%, pre-packed popcorn up to 12%, and a caramel popcorn up to 18%. And when popcorn is bundled with the movie tickets, pricing becomes even more complicated because the applicable GST depends on the ticket category as well. So for the consumers, this means that the fanciest popcorn often gets taxed more. That is like the caramel popcorn. When the popcorn is caramelized, it is no longer a namkeen. So that's why it's taxed more. So now let's put all this into super simple economics term. Imagine this. A theater cannot increase ticket prices too much because customers may stop coming. So instead, the theaters keep the ticket prices relatively competitive and increase snacks prices where the customers are more flexible. This strategy is called cross-subsidization. One product attracts customer. Another product generates profit. See, the customers still buy the popcorns even though the prices are increased. One lesson to be learned from this episode is that sometimes the main product attracts attention, while the second product generates the money. Theaters, movies create the experience, but the popcorn pays the bills. That was why movie popcorn is so expensive. This is one company and one story where we simplify businesses, economics, and the decisions that are shaping everyday life. This is Shruti signing off. See you in the next episode. Until then, stay updated. Bye.